Hey, welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about the brain. So, in the previous video, we looked at um, a nervous system in general. We talked about central nervous system and peripheral nervous system, and we discussed the peripheral nervous system, and also looked at the central nervous system, especially in conjunction with the spinal cord. The only thing that's left for this chapter is to talk about brain, and that's exactly what we're gonna do now. Now, just to give you some interesting numbers, a brain, average brain of an average age person with average height and weight weighs about 3 pounds, and with 100 billion neurons in it. And another interesting thing is that when you actually take a cross section of the brain, and you'll see light and dark matter, or white and dark matter, or the gray matter, I'm sorry, white and the gray matter. The white matter is white because of the fatty myelin sheath around the axons of the myelinated neurons, while the gray matter is because of the non-myelinated axons, or primarily because of the cell bodies or the somas of the neurons in general. So gray matter coming from the body, cell body, and the white matter coming from because of the myelinated axons of some neurons. Well, let's get back to the structure of the brain now. So we will discuss about the structure of the brain, but not in detail. We'll only look at the structure as relevant to the functions that are important for the purpose of this class. So if you look at this brain, it's color-coded for your convenience, and you can see, and again, all these images are downloaded from Google, and there are links available for these if you need. So these images in this presentation and elsewhere are actually taken from Google. Now, so brain, brain is often divided into 3 structures. The red part you see is the hindbrain, the blue part is the midbrain, and the rest, which is coded here in yellow and green, represents the forebrain. So the reason why it is coded this way, or sorry, the reason why it is named this way is that the forebrain is in front, midbrain is in the middle, and the hindbrain is behind the midbrain. So you can imagine your head here, and this almost looks like your head. There's a front part of it, like forehead, there's a back part of it, and this is underneath, like just above your neck. Of course, just above the neck in the skull. So that's the structure of the brain. So we have hindbrain, midbrain, and the forebrain. The forebrain is further divided into, or categorized into, this yellow structure, which is the outermost layer of the brain. It's called the cerebrum, or the cerebral cortex. Underneath this, there is a set of structures underneath, and generally these structures are together called subcortical structures. Sub is below, cortical is cortex. So because it is under the cortex, all these structures in general are referred to as subcortical structures. But some of these subcortical, in fact, most of these structures in this subcortical part, they work in unison together to form a system called limbic system. So the cerebral cortex and the limbic system together constitute what is called as the forebrain. So let's start with the hindbrain, then we'll talk about the midbrain, then the forebrain. Now, the hindbrain is constituted by the structures called medulla oblongata. You see this? This is the base of the brain, and this medulla oblongata, it actually continues down as the spinal cord. So the hindbrain structure is medulla oblongata, then, which is the base of the hindbrain, or the brain in general. Then this circular structure you see, this is called the pons. This elevated round structure is the pons. And just behind these pons, there is a single structure, and most of a single structure in this one. It's a solid structure that goes behind the medulla and the pons, and this structure is called cerebellum. So there is medulla, on top of that there is pons, and behind these two there is one single structure that goes across horizontally. It's called cerebellum. Now, what medulla does is that it controls involuntary actions. Now, if you remember the discussions from the other video about how most of the organs in our body, the organ systems, organs, for example, heart, lungs, kidneys, liver, all the structures, they work independently in this connected through autonomous nervous system, right? And all these structures are the functions of these, the activities of these particular organs that are not under our control, the most important ones like heart, lungs, and so on, and reflexes, are actually controlled by medulla. And coming to the pons, it plays a vital role in regulating our sleep cycle. And also the pons and medulla, remember the first back part of the brain, so that spinal cord continues, or the medulla oblongata continues down in spinal cord, right? So the sensory information through these spinal cord fibers actually goes through this medulla oblongata and also pons. And eventually that is sent to forebrain by going through another structure in between the midbrain and thalamus, and we'll talk about that in a second. Just remember, in the pons and medulla, there is a thick crisscross of fibers, sensory fibers, carrying information from all but one sense organ. Eventually, that information is brought to the thalamus. And coming to cerebellum, cerebellum is the structure that regulates fine coordinated movements, like your balance, very coordinated movements where you need to, like you're trying to catch a ball, you're right. Can you think of things where you are unable to talk, unable to write, unable to, like temporary situation where you experience this? Well, that's because the cerebellum is the one usually affected in those circumstances. Can you think of any situation? Yeah, you're right. Friday nights, you know what I'm talking about. It's the cerebellum is a structure that actually is responsible to maintain the balance and coordination, and that's what gets involved whenever you drink. So, simple questions. Chris is having trouble staying in my class. Why? Okay, now what I'll do is I'll stop here, and I want you to make sure you understand what we have discussed so far, and then there will be a small video that outlines the structure of the hindbrain in particular, and also it's the outlining of structure from a live brain. I mean, the brain of a person, of a human being, as opposed to just a picture. So I'm going to stop here. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.